Back when they were good.
Yeah.
So, how you feeling?
All right.
I know it's gonna be a bit overwhelming.
It was.
But even just this right here, this is just an important part of the process to get what we want, which is the officers to face justice. So we're gonna call for the district attorney's office to file charges
Okay.
for criminal negligent homicide.
Yes. Okay.
Every officer involved, it's
Yeah.
these officers, they're all complicit. Right?
Okay.
And you know, when you talk, you don't have to say much, but get your story out. Talk about when you first found out about her being deceased. Talk about when you filed a public records request. Talk about how the department
Well,
being honest with you.
you know, I can't talk that good.
Right. Okay.
So,
You can talk-
because
talk
my
about it.
words get twisted
Okay.
up.
Well, I'll talk.
Yeah.
Are we waiting on?
Her sister.
Okay. Did they call you yesterday after they released the video?
No,
Okay, and they definitely didn't call you before.
they called me before.
Oh, they did?
Uh-huh.
The day before yesterday.
Okay, what did they say?
That a video was gonna be released.
But you thought it was gonna be released to you, not to everybody?
Yeah.
All right.
That's the crew they call. That's the permit call.
Ah,
Yeah. Did some of you been good? Good to see you. Good to see you already.
are you with the Dallas Morning News?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think we've met before. I'm
Justin.
sorry. I haven't
Nice to
had
meet
any
you.
camping today.
Is that your sister?
Uh-huh.
Is she your sister too?
No. I just got one.
Just got one, okay, good to know. Any brothers, other siblings? All right. Was Diamond your only child?
No. I got a brother.
Okay, is he over there?
No, he's not here.
Okay.
Oh, you did your hood. Okay.
Yeah.
Justin Moore. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
You took the stairs? You took the stairs?
And then, Green. I need another chair for Grey now. I need another chair for Grey now. Here you go.
Alright. Y'all good back there? Okay. Let me know when you guys are ready. Alright. So my name is Justin Moore. I am the attorney for Diamond Ross's family, more specifically her mother, Ethelyn Ross. And why we have gathered you guys here today is to discuss the video that was released by the Dallas Police Department on yesterday. What we saw in that video was garish, it was ugly, it was disgusting, and it's something that shows something that's deep and pervasive in the Dallas Police Department. For a year, Ethelyn Ross has been on an odyssey to figure out what happened to her daughter. Her daughter ended up deceased, and a homicide detective showed up to her home to provide her that information without providing any type of context or color as to why her daughter was deceased. what we've seen yesterday shows a bit into what happened to her daughter. We don't know if it was a drug overdose, which some have opined. We don't know if it was some other issue that others that might have alleged. We're not going to get into that. But what we are going to get into was the gross misconduct, the criminal misconduct of the Dallas Police Department. What we saw in that video showed criminally negligent homicide. It speaks to the elements. It was a gross deviation from what a reasonable person should do when confronted with a situation such as that. Those officers saw a woman that was in need of dire help, a woman that needed medical attention immediately, and they avoided providing that, which was the gross deviation from the standard. An officer is supposed to render aid, and also an officer is supposed to provide medical attention when a person is faced with a medical condition that was as obvious as that. What we're calling for is for the termination of each and every officer that was involved in that situation. We're also calling for the district attorney's office to file charges immediately for each officer that was involved in that situation. We have the elements that meet and rise to the standard of criminal liability, and each of those officers need to be facing prosecution immediately. Furthermore, Ethelyn Ross has retained my office to prosecute whatever civil claims may arise out of my own personal investigation. I will investigate this thoroughly and zealously to ensure that Mrs. Ross and her family can get the justice that they deserve. It's important that this family gets answers, and it's important that they get justice. Now we're going to open it up to the floor. You guys have any questions, then we'll close with Dominique with this call to action for the community.
Mr. Moore, what's Dallas Fire Rescue's culpability? Because they cleared her to be transported to the jail. So what's their role in this whole thing?
Well, if they clear her to be transported to the jail, they have some liability, and we will be investigating that also. So they open themselves to liability, so therefore they have a role.
You talked about the officers that anyone involved should be fired. One of them we know got a written reprimand. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a slap on the wrist. That's all I'm going to say about that. A written reprimand, slap on the wrist. And also, and I believe it was Tanya Eiserer who brought this to my attention, she asked for these records, or she asked for these videos 4 or 5 months ago. And DPD, for whatever reason, they avoided providing these videos. Instead, what they did was, once the fire got hot enough, or too hot, they released these videos and lied and said that they're doing it in the interest of transparency, which is laughable. It's absolutely laughable that they issued these videos for transparency. They issued these videos to cover their butts, for lack of a better term. They're not trying to be transparent. This woman right here has been trying to get these videos for a year. For a year. And you know what happened? Almost a year in, a detective called her the day before yesterday and said that the videos would be released. She thought the videos were going to be released to her and her alone. Instead, they were released to media. Why is that? DPD, they have to answer for why they didn't provide her the opportunity to view these videos of her daughter before they made these videos available for the public. That's gross, that's disgusting, and no police department needs to be acting that way. Let's show some compassion for the family of a deceased person. Let's don't only focus on trying to cover your butts. This cover-up is gross, and it implies some type of criminal misconduct. Is the Dallas Police Department, is it a law enforcement agency, or is it a criminal organization? It's hard to tell from this vantage point. Month after month, issue after issue, there's always a cover-up when it comes to the Dallas Police Department. These folks do not have the citizens of Dallas, they do not have their best interests at heart. All they have is a focus towards covering their own butts when issues like these arise and making sure heads don't roll when they need to.
Justin, what do you have to say about, this case resembles some similarities to the Tony Timpa case, another man who pleaded for help and said, I can't, needed water and aid as well. And the DA didn't drop the charges in that case.
Right.
In this case, he also chose to not pursue charges. I mean,
Right.
there's also an ability there to.
Right. So the DA didn't drop charges in this case or elect not to file charges because this occurred when Faith Johnson was still in office. It has a great resemblance to the Tony Timpa case, and I think it shows that, and it puts him in a position where if he doesn't want to establish a trend for skirting accountability, he has every opportunity to show that that's not his policy with his office. I mean, maybe the Tony Timpa case has some issues where he felt like charges weren't appropriate. I'm not going to litigate that matter. I'm here to litigate this matter for Ethelyn Ross and Diamond. He has every opportunity here to show that he's for transparency and he's for checking other law enforcement agencies and being that check and balance when it comes to making sure that they don't use their power and let it run amok. And you want to...
I think it's very important that we talk about the Tony Tipper case because there are similarities as to how the family found out or the family, the public found out about these cases. Tony Tipper was killed August 10, 2016, and we found out a year later, right? At the end of the day, we're here with Diamond Ross a year later, a year and a half. And Dallas Police Department is saying we're doing this in the spirit of transparency, right? The whole time that we were having conversations about Botham Jean, we should have been having conversations about Diamond Ross and Botham Jean at the same time. Right. And at the end of the day, of course, that is something, Tony Tipper's case is something that resonates with us because what Dallas Police Department is doing is creating a pattern of non-transparency, even when it comes to certain city council members who sit on the dais that didn't even know anything about Diamond Ross prior to these videos being released.
May I ask another question, and the family may know this better? When she's taken to the hospital, I mean, how much time passes before you all got a notification that she was brain dead as a result of the
Yeah,
incident?
you guys have an answer for that?
No.
What do y'all want to see the changes at DPD? I mean, this has been an ongoing issue.
Right.
What's the answer? I mean, new management, all start over, hire an outside, what is it you guys want to see?
First things first, you make a great point. We need an outside agency investigating DPD and investigating this issue. They've shown that they don't have any type of interest towards finding justice when it comes to these issues. So we can't trust them with an investigation. Secondly, when we talk about we can't trust them with finding justice or seeking justice, that is a systemic issue within the department. Where do systemic issues come from? It comes from the top. Now, I'm not calling for mass firings, but I think there needs to be some soul searching here in Dallas, Texas. It's starting with the police department. T.C. Broadnex has great control over what happens there. So either he needs to take a serious look into the department, or we need to figure out if we need a new city manager. It's not my call to make, but I mean, I am a constituent, and there are millions of other folks who will find this case as something that they choose to follow and they have a great interest in. So I think those are the people that need to be held accountable. What does accountability look like? We'll figure that out as the weeks come. There's going to be a lot of direct action. There's going to be a lawsuit coming from my office. And as we continue this investigation ourselves, we're going to figure out who is culpable here. And every person that we determine is culpable, we're going to find ways to hold them liable.
Correct. Far as the direct action, on Monday, 12 noon, we will be at the office of City Manager T.C. Broadnex because the buck stopped with him. The city manager failed this family. The city manager failed this community. At the end of the day, the chief of police, Chief Renee Hall, cannot do anything that T.C. Broadnex does not allow. I spoke with several council people that was unaware about Diamond Ross' situation, many of them. So at the end of the day, we're going to go visit on Monday morning at noon. We're going to go visit T.C. Broadnex to find out why he felt like this was an action that needed to be taken where he withheld this information. You know, I saw this family yesterday as they were at their home and they were fighting back tears because of the fact that everybody in the world saw what they saw in this video before they did. They weren't even given the opportunity. DPD could have asked this family and said, do you want this out, right? And gave this family the option of saying, no, I don't want this out, just give it to me, right? At the end of the day, they didn't give them that. What they did was tried to cover their butts and they tried to prevent a reaction. Well, they got it. On Tuesday at 7 p.m., outside of Dallas Police Headquarters, we will have a direct action. And this is to Chief Renee Hall. This is to make sure, because at the end of the day, we're still right now fighting a battle to make sure that Dallas Police Association president resign and get disciplined for his actions regarding the Botham Jean case. So they're already in the hot seat, and now they put something else here. And at the end of the day, we're just tired of having to come to this process. And at the end of the day, the Next Generation Action Network, along with our community organizations, will fight tirelessly for the Ross family to make sure that Diamond Ross get justice.
All right. And last comment, unless you guys have more questions. I think it's important that we follow this case because it shows that political expediency can cloud justice seeking. What we're seeing here is a gross cover-up from top to bottom. We're seeing officers be protected, and we're seeing a family being treated like they're less than human. What we need is the Dallas Police Department to start stepping forward and treating the citizens of Dallas like they're human and not like they're less than. It's important for every citizen in this city to follow this case from start to finish, from the call to justice to up until eventually and hopefully when we actually receive justice. Because I think this case can really touch upon a lot of issues that goes on with DPD, because this isn't the only time this has happened. This has allowed to permeate within the department for a year without nobody knowing about it. What other issues are out there that they're trying to cover up? That's important. And hopefully we can get to the bottom of what happened here, and hopefully we can open up the floodgates and figure out what other injustices are occurring in the Dallas Police Department. Thank you.
One other question, will this case be sent to the new police oversight board?
Oh yeah, it's going to be sent.
Has that process started, or?
Right after this, if you guys are willing to join us, we're going to go and file an official complaint with the police department so that her complaint can reach the police oversight, because this case has already went through internal affairs, and now the police oversight can look back over what internal affairs looked at, the process over the past year. So that is another tool that the community do have right now. Since Dallas Police Department on paper has concluded their investigation, now we want to know what they actually looked at, what they considered, and at the end of the day, that's what this family is going to do right after, make an official complaint on all officers who was involved with that night and led to Diamond Ross's death.
Justin, just one more question, and circling back to what you said a little bit earlier. In your opinion, should officers have done CPR?
Yes, they should have tried to resuscitate or save Diamond Ross's life. So whatever they could have done, they should have did it.
And clearly, if they had to drag Diamond Ross into the marshal's office, they should have been taking her to Baylor Hospital. And at the end of the day, I heard them say Dallas Fire and Rescue cleared her to be transported. But clearly, when Dallas Fire and Rescue was out there, Diamond Ross wasn't in the state she was when she walked in and they dragged her into the marshal's office. So at the end of the day, what you should have did, if you had to do her that way, you should have been taking her down the street to Baylor Hospital.
And not to belabor the point, but on one of the body-worn cameras, Diamond Ross is pleading for water. You got to plead for water? If you're doing that,
I can't breathe.
I think you have a medical condition. So the Dallas Fire and Rescue, they're on the hook for that. Why did you clear a person that's pleading for water, begging for it? Do you think it was a joke? I don't know. And not to go too much deeper into it, but I think we saw an officer actually laughing on camera during when they were putting her in the back seat. Obviously, this wasn't a laughing matter. So whoever that officer is, we need to figure out who he is and hold him accountable. Because obviously he indicates clearly that they're not taking this matter seriously. Not a laughing matter.
Excuse my ignorance on this subject, but if you could elaborate more, what happened at the scene, and what were some circumstances in the scene where she's being arrested that would indicate, other than her saying, like, I need you having water or whatever, that she should have been taken to the hospital instead of to jail? What was going on with?
Well, she couldn't hold herself. Yeah,
why did she have a medical condition, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
What,
well, I'm not
something that happened at the scene scene?
Well, I'm not a doctor, and those officers aren't doctors either, but we can clearly see that she can't hold herself up. She's falling all over herself. She's asking for water. Her eyes are closed. Doesn't seem like a healthy person. So just looking at it from that standpoint, I think it's just obvious that she needed medical attention. And ultimately, it showed that she did.
Also, do we know why she was taken to the city detention center instead of Lou Sterrett? Lou Sterrett has nurses and,
You couldn't bring her in there per the Dallas County Sheriff policy, in the state that they brought her in,
to Lou Sterrett.
to Lou Sterrett. They would have refused her at the door.
Right. Which brings a question, why did the marshals accept her if the Dallas Sheriff's Office said that she's not in a condition to be brought into our own facility? Okay? Any more questions from you guys?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.